So it's been such an amazing day today. 7 hours. I am exhausted. I'm not going to lie. I've been sipping away. I've had the odd piece of orange and bits and pieces here to keep me going energetically. I've taken so much energy from the conversations. Every single conversation from all of the founders within those pillars of wealth, from Lauren LaPlay, Sarah Mannion, Luke Doyle. It's just been so fantastic. Nina Oliver, Anna Weller, all of those energies. When you surround yourself with people that resonate and you have these shared values of putting your health and your wealth first, and putting your well-being, your energy, your abundance, lifestyle, time and health first, but also making sure that you realize that you are nature, you are connected to this beautiful planet, which is why Jack is just the perfect person to finish. He's waiting patiently in the waiting room, and I will bring him on stage in a minute. Without a doubt, I'm going to get quite passionate here. I think without a doubt, we haven't got wealth if we don't have a planet. Without a shadow of a doubt, just like your health, if you can't move, and you can't move your body, and you can't feel, and you can't have meaningful relationships and connection, if you don't have a well-being, your well is full, it's abundant, and you're in that beingness. If you don't have energy, if you don't have abundance, and abundance comes from the trees, that the smell of the things that you can taste from real amazing connections with nature. Every time we see a deer walking around, I was sat one morning I was sat here actually one morning watching the sunrise before I started the day meditating, and a deer walked through my garden, and it's like, oh my goodness, there's a deer. Why are we so shocked that nature is there? If we rewild this planet and we learn to live in harmony with nature, with respect for indigenous people in their communities, we are all part of this world, we're all connected, and we live sustainably, because sustainability isn't about giving anything up. It's actually slowing down and embracing life in its fullness, taking the riches from the richness of life. Money doesn't buy you riches. Money doesn't buy you wealth. Yes, it can add to it, and we can channel our money into things that we really desperately care about. One of the pillars in the podcast will be investing for good, where you can invest your money into founders and into angel investments that are doing good. But equally, it's really hard sometimes to feel like we can add value by investing into those. And this is why, the Global Returns Project, for me, are just doing incredible work to do things differently for the planet. So I think I'm just going to crack on. I don't need to wait till 5 p.m. to bring Jack on stage, because it's been a long day. I think you will forgive me if I don't last the full 7 hours and just bring Jack on to the show. Before I do, actually, we have got 2 minutes, and it might get to 5 p.m. by the time I've stopped talking about this. I just want to remind you all, the purpose of today's live is there's five links that I've shared for you, but it's threefold actually. I want to raise the awareness of the new show. We are rebirthing the show, Wealth and Change, to being the Wealth Rebel show, because we've evolved, I've changed, and we want to raise the presence of the show. So go to the links. Please like, subscribe, follow the show on Spotify, Apple, and on YouTube, because the YouTube show is different to the podcast. There will be video content almost daily, very, very spontaneous, very intuitively led, and based on what I feel is needed by the channel. And there will be video content, I promise, coming out there once we get over the tech issue of getting a video loaded up that I had already prepped and channeled. So firstly, when we do that, we're shining a light on the people that are giving up their time to come on the show, that really, really need our attention, like the founder, Joe Wellstead and Drink Ocean, because they're doing amazing things. Go into the WhatsApp chat if you can, because there is a competition. So the link to the WhatsApp chat on my phone means that if you contribute and like and subscribe and share, just share it into the WhatsApp chat and you'll be in for winning a prize. I'll be picking 3 people at random. And then finally, the big mission behind that is to do my part to change the perception of wealth and also put the planet before any profit. So hit the link for the Global Returns Project, globalreturnsproject.earth/contribute/ go and donate, give what you can, because I have done 7 hours. It is 5 p.m. I've done 6. I'm about to welcome Jack on stage now to the show. And I just cannot believe what a day it's been. And so perfectly, amazingly aligned to finish with Jack Chellman. Welcome, Jack. Hey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I'm so well. I'm quite pleased to see your face now, because it feels like I'm getting to the end of a really long day. It's been an amazing day, and it's just so abundant to finish this day with you, Jack Chellman.
Oh,
Welcome.
well, delighted to be here, and congrats on it sounds like a day well spent, almost at the end of the marathon.
Yeah, do you know that is just like the perfect way to kind of sum it up, really. We can focus so much on what went wrong, but I've just spent the day speaking to 7 incredible people that are doing incredible things, feeling inspired, sharing that energy, and then creating content that will go on and be shared even wider after today. So yeah, thank you for that.
Of
You
course.
always bring that sprinkle of light and that different that energy. Raising the plight of real wealth is just so important, and wealth should not come at a cost to the planet. I met you a few years ago. I think we connected on LinkedIn,
Yeah, I think
and
so.
you said, let's have a chat. And I was like, I don't chat to many people from LinkedIn. I get contacted a lot. And I just was like, yeah, okay. I want to talk to you. The Global Returns Project, that sounds really interesting. And straight away, I was completely blown away by what you do and what the Global Returns Project does. I love everything you stand for. And I just want to hand it over to you now. I just want you to talk to me again and remind me every time you remind me about what the Global Returns Project is. So what is the Global Returns Project, Jack?
Sure, let's start there. So the Global Returns Project is a UK charity, and our mission is really to make it as easy as possible for any individual and any business to support high-impact climate and nature charities. And the thinking behind that is really that, in the grand scheme of things, scientists tell us we have a decisive decade for taking climate action, right? We need to do as much as we possibly can to mitigate climate change over the next 5 years, which is really not that much time. And when you take that time frame seriously, that is really helpful in focusing us on the climate actions that matter most. And there's a lot of things we think about all the time, but actually, not all of them take that decisive decade into account. So we know that governments are going to be important, but they're too slow, right? Technology is going to be really important, but it's pretty slow to scale as well. And it's not going to be scaled up enough by the end of the decade. Sustainable investing, hugely important, right? That's a huge part of what you talk about, Emma, and we have to make sustainable investing as effective as possible. But it continues to be hindered by issues of greenwash. We know that that's still a challenge. And the reality is that some of the things that are most important for our planet are just really hard for even a great sustainable fund to deliver. And that's really what brings us to climate and nature charities, or green philanthropy, because the reality is charitable organizations, these not-for-profits at the front lines of the fight against climate change and biodiversity loss, they have the skills, the strategies, and the networks to deliver real impact at the speed and the scale that's necessary to make the most of the decisive decade. And yet, Emma, you know this well, but most people don't. less than 2% of global philanthropy goes to climate mitigation efforts. So that sort of sets out the mission for us. We know that there are these organizations that could be doing incredible things. They're already delivering amazing impact. They could be doing a lot more if they got proper funding. And it's really up to us. And it's about people with any kind of assets giving something to this kind of organization on a monthly or annual basis. So that's sort of the context for what we do very quickly in terms of the actual work we do to make that as easy as possible. We select and assess a diverse portfolio of some of the highest impact climate and nature charities. We monitor them, we report on them. A standard donation comes to the Global Returns Project, and we distribute 100% of that donation to the charities that a donor wants to support. We don't take any deductions from that whatsoever. Our core costs as a charity are funded completely separately by our trustees and a number of trusts, foundations, and some individual donors who like our work. And that means we are a pure conduit between somebody who cares about these issues and some of the best charities in the world. And we report on those organizations, do ongoing assessment to make sure that the organizations we're recommending are always going to be best in class according to our own methodology.
Amazing. You know, it's so inspiring. You're so right. The government are never, ever, ever going to do what's right for the planet because they are too, I'm sorry, they're too embedded in the power and the profit to make the changes that is needed. And sustainable investing is there's too many governmental controls around sustainable investing, really. Or, you know, when you look at some of the funds, they have to comply to the FCA rules, and then those rules mean that then it becomes really hard for retail funds to be of impact. Always I'm going to hear from some of the managers that are doing things differently, but because people are afraid of the greenwashing and we hear the negative side of it, then they don't put money. They see what's the point, and then they just carry on putting it into a Vanguard life strategy. And, you know, companies like Vanguard sometimes vote against Paris climate agreements. Okay, this is what I've been hearing when I did some of my pro-planet research recently. And I can say that because I'm the wealth rebel, and, you know, I know this to be true. So we hear greenwashing, and then we just think, well, what's the point? I might as well just put it into a normal fund. And then we think, well, what is the point in even doing anything sustainable? Because all we hear about is this awful deadline. And then we hear negativity when so much positivity is happening. And when you work with someone like you and you hear about the impact for your global impact reports, you go to an event in London and you hear firsthand from the charities that are on the ground in places like Brazil, right? I came to your Brazil event in London back in, when was it? It was back in July, wasn't it? Time has just flown because the summer has just been really quick. But I was blown away by hearing from, you know, the Rainforest Trust, was it the Rainforest, the Canopies charity, and the Wildlife Fund, who
Trees,
Global Trees. It was just incredible. I was absolutely so inspired, you know, and these people are on the ground and they are giving up a lot of the time. They are risking their lives as well to be there. So not only are they not for profit and they're having real impact, they're owning parts of the forest to stop deforestation. And then that is having a massive impact on the climate, the carbon footprint. And they are risking their lives. We owe it to them to start putting money to these charities because we can have an impact, because we can delegate to someone that is prepared to risk their lives for the planet. Guys, come on. And then the fact that it's 2% goes to climate mitigation. How amazing is that? We've got 98% to go at, right? And that is of the charitable donations, because so many people probably aren't donating because they don't
That's
see the point.
that's right. I mean,
What?
an interesting point on that, Emma, though, is, I mean, from a UK perspective, actually, people are really ready for this. The UK is remarkably generous when it comes to charitable giving, far more than any other European country. So 3/4 of us give to charity every month. That's what the research shows. And actually, that sort of spans all brackets. So that could be sort of people giving small amounts every month. But we also know that 2/3 of high net worth individuals say that philanthropy is an important part of their life. A third of people who are in the sort of affluent bracket, so not sort of high net worth, but sort of right below that. A third of people plan to make a major gift to charity in the next 5 years. So people understand the value of charities in this country, and people are ready for that. The challenge, and what it's amazing to be having conversations like this, and one of the reasons it's great to have these conversations, is because people don't often understand the ways in which sort of climate and nature issues undergird all the other issues they care about. If you care about health or human rights or anti-homelessness or anti-poverty or all these other issues that are so, so important, maybe on the cultural side, maybe on the social side, all of those issues are going to get, unfortunately, a lot worse if we don't deal with climate and nature as a priority. And so that's why we work with financial planners and wealth managers and coaches, because our sort of message is, when you're dealing with your investments, let's make them as green as you possibly can be, right? Wherever possible, let's put money into ESG or sustainable funds or impact funds, and let's do as much as we can on that front. And then, if we can make the giving easy and impactful, let's give a small amount on a monthly or annual basis to some really, really good climate and nature charities, because they're a complement to your investing, but also, for what I just mentioned, that they make all the other issues that we care about more secure and more successful in the future.
I love it. I do love it. I love the fact that you are seeing that so much control is in the financial advice, because a lot of people delegate all of their planning and all of their thoughts about what to do with their money to their financial advisor, which is one of the things that I am trying to help people to take more sovereignty over their own financial planning. Even if they still have a financial advisor, be aware of what you have and how you can, and that's the coaching, right? That's the empowerment. Because we want you to really have awareness of where your money is going to, and that you can have way more control over that than you realize. But the fact that you're working so closely within the wealth management industry is fantastic, because you can create a part of that strategy to say, right, we're going to build in a donation, and the impact of that is you're giving away money now. You don't need to wait until you die and put it in your will, because actually that can be contested. If you give a large donation to charity and suddenly that's unexpected by the people that are in your will, that can mean that a charity could even wait another 5 or 10 years to argue that out in court, right? There are so
That's
many
right.
reasons to not wait to do things, because waiting is not good. We need to take action now. We need to be doing things now, to be correcting all of the things that are within the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals, right? From poverty and homelessness and all of those other social aspects. When we are embedded with nature, and we're putting the planet first, and we're creating, and we're going back to how the planet should have been, being in beautiful flow, the climate supports us to be here to thrive. And it's that disconnect that we have from nature and the planet that really stops us from being wealthy, and then stops us from doing what we should within the charitable sector. It's really exciting, Jack. One of the things that I love you explaining is about how you create your portfolio, how you create that portfolio. Tell us a little bit about some of the, the charities that are in there. What is the science behind the actual portfolio, the global returns project?
Absolutely. So we take the assessment and the selection of the charities really seriously. I'd say, just sort of starting out, what kind of charities are we looking for? We say that the charities we select are high impact because they're all scalable in their particular sector. They're best in class according to our methodology. But we're really interested as well in charities from a donor perspective that are low risk. So charities that have been screened for strong governance, and from a philanthropic perspective, a group of charities that is diversified. So
Yeah.
not putting all your eggs into one basket, but saying, okay, climate is a really complicated issue. It's multifaceted. So we need a multi-pronged approach to dealing with it. And so one charity isn't going to be enough. We need multiple charities.
Yeah.
That's the kind of organization we're looking for. We say it's almost like a blue chip equivalent in the charity space. And that sort of leads us to the selection process. A couple main points there. First, we've got a team of world-class climate scientists who sit on our technical advisory board, and they work with our trustees to oversee selection and assessment of our portfolio of charities. They're all leading experts in things like atmospheric physics, land use, ocean ecosystems, biosphere, and more. They do that work using a proprietary methodology that they've also helped us put together. So we've taken thousands of charities all around the world, and using that methodology, whittled them down to a portfolio of 6 organizations, soon to be 7. We're about to add a new charity, but 6 organizations at the moment that we're comfortable recommending to our donors. Our sort of basic process is, if we're looking at a charity and thinking about adding it to our portfolio of recommendations, first, the charity needs to pass a series of governance and sizing gates. So that's that low risk point I made before. It needs to be a certain size, age, income threshold, etc. If a charity makes it past those gates, that's when we apply the rest of our methodology. We score the organization more qualitatively by its impact, the scalability of its operations, the networks it forms, and the co-benefits it delivers. And only the highest scoring organization in a particular sector gets admitted to our portfolio. And then, really important to our model, that's not the end of the story. So every 6 months, we rescore all the organizations based on that original methodology. We produce detailed impact reports for all our donors and all our institutional partners off the back of that reassessment. And even though when we bring a charity into the portfolio, we expect it to remain for a number of years, if we find that an organization is no longer scoring as highly, or perhaps their strategy has diverged based on what it was when it was brought into the portfolio, we will consider removing the charity and replacing it with a higher performing organization. And so anybody who's giving to us on a regular basis, as we really encourage people to do, they know that their funds are always going to a portfolio that we consider best in class. As I said, there are 6 charities that we currently recommend. Blue Marine Foundation, which does incredible ocean conservation work. Client Earth, which is a team of environmental lawyers using the law to protect the planet. Global Canopy, which uses innovative data tools to shine a light on deforestation in our supply chains. Rainforest Trust, which buys up areas of threatened rainforest all around the world and has done that with 50 million acres to date with a 99% success rate. Trillion Trees, which is a forest restoration initiative. It's actually a joint initiative between 3 of the world's largest conservation initiatives, WWF, Wildlife Conservation Society, and BirdLife International. And whale and dolphin conservation, which focuses on marine mammals, which play a really important role in ocean carbon cycles.
Yeah, the poop is very important.
That's
I love
right. That's what whales do.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love learning about all of the things that we don't realize are decimating. A big part of the things that I've been learning about is the fact that we don't realize how important the ocean is to the bigger picture. And that's what I love about what you're doing. You're putting you're not just focusing on one area, like trees are important on the land, but the oceans are deep. They absorb so much of the carbon and the heat of the planet. And it's just so important that we raise the awareness of all of it, not just one part of it. And that's what's so incredible about what you do. I loved hearing from when we were at the event in London in July. It was very much about the land because it was Brazil, and it was the rainforest. And I think that was great for me, actually, because I've been doing so much ocean conservation and focusing on the ocean that actually to just hear again about the forests and about that part of it was really refreshing for me, actually, and just left me even more inspiring. It was like, I want to go and be in the jungle. I just want to go and see it and smell it. And we if I want to be in the jungle, okay, maybe the orangutans want to be in their own jungle, or the people that are in that place want to be in the jungle as well. And there's so many challenges in these places that we don't have awareness of, when we're kind of chopping things down, it isn't that we're doing it from a place of badness, that it's to make soy, or it's to make things that we might think we need. And it's working with these communities in these places to try and educate them on the impact that they're having outside of it, because they can't see the bigger picture always as well. It's so easy for us to sit in the UK and blame, all the people that's happening. Well, we've done the same in the UK. The UK used to have wolves. We used to have forests all over the UK, wild horses roaming, right? And I think it's so important to really remember that part. One of the things that stood out when I was at the event was that the plight of the pink dolphin in the Amazon River as well, right? And that really triggered me. It really got me. I felt super emotional. I don't know what it was about the pink dolphin, but it was just like, wow, we really need to protect these places. And that these people in these charities deserve our support, because they are giving up so much to be in quite dangerous places where it is wild. It's like it's wild there in some of these places as well. We are very, 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 very blessed to live in a place where we are safe to express our views. We're not going to be thrown overboard on a ship if we don't agree with the killing of dolphins en masse for the tuna production, right? Seaspiracy is a documentary I found very fascinating. And, just knowing these things makes me just want to support these charities even more, because we can do so much and we can create so much impact just by giving £10 a month, if that's what you have, but giving what you have, because it's a charitable donation. We are going to get rewarded, because we're going to have a planet that is more abundant. We don't have to make 10% on our money and hold on to that and constantly save tax to be investing into things that we really care about.
Well, absolutely, Emma. And interestingly, I mean, obviously I talk with financial planners all the time. There's some really interesting research out there on the idea of unconscious bias when it comes to how financial advisors think about philanthropy and their clients. And the reality is, the way that the advisor perceptions of clients' views on philanthropy are often completely at odds with clients' actual views on philanthropy. So one thing you mentioned, sort of tax. clients often think that advisors, when they talk about philanthropy, they focus way too much on issues of technicalities like tax relief or wealth preservation, instead of what they're really interested in, which is personal values. And there's some interesting statistics. Something like a majority of a minority of advisors say their conversations about philanthropy are mostly focused on procedural issues like tax, but a majority of clients feel that those conversations are mostly focused on tax and that kind of thing. And similarly, when you ask advisors, why is it that a client wants to be giving to charity, the advisor's perception of that is totally off from what the client wants. So advisors, something like 40-50% of advisors will say, oh, my client wants to give to charity because they want to, for tax relief or something technical like that. Only something like 16% of clients would say that the primary reason they give to charity is for something like that. Actually, in the UK, the research says the top reasons somebody gives to charity is passion for a cause,
They
a
care.
desire, yeah,
100%.
desire to make a change, and a desire to have an impact. Those are the top three reasons.
Jack, we talk about greenwashing. Should we just relabel unconscious bias as brainwashing?
Yeah,
Because
something like that.
actually, what it is your brain, your mind has been conditioned to think a certain way, because all you hear about when you're in the wealth management industry is you are told every single day tax, assets under management, this is what clients need. And you go into that room and you have unconscious bias, aka brainwashing, not greenwashing, brainwashing on the fact of what you perceive somebody is going to need before you've even had a conversation to ask that person what they care about. And I know this is true because I was not brainwashed. I came into wealth management with having spent a career as in London in a different route into this role, and I created stock bonds that were, structured investment solutions that were green based. I always had a passion for green investment solutions, and I've always not been led by these unconscious biases. I had a completely different mindset. I wasn't in that space. So when I went in from day dot, I was like, I already knew about ESG. I already knew about all of these things. So then I would naturally go in and talk to clients. Naturally, unconsciously, would talk about what they cared about. And then they would go, yeah. So I ended up started moving money out of core investment solutions into radical different solutions. And I would often get in trouble for it. I'd get like, you're going to not meet your bonus because we need to have this amount of AUM and you're moving money over here into solutions that are outside of the firm. But I'm like, yeah, but that's the right thing to do without any like worry or anything about the money. I already got paid, right? And yes, we did have bonuses, but I was like, that's the right thing to do. My client really cares about he does not want to put money into pornography and tobacco. We can't do this. It has to go to a DFM manager, a discretionary fund manager that can really screen out these offending things. And he's really, so we can't do that. So it has to go out there. It's the right thing to do. Full stop. And then you see and because I would see client after client, I used to see client after client, like client, it's like constantly changing the portfolios, constantly moving money into investment solutions that were, doing so much more for the planet. And so what you're saying is so true, because I think because I didn't have that, then I really struggled with that. And that's why then I've stepped, probably, it's not the reason that I stepped away. I fell in love with coaching. I fell in love with values and getting to know a client and really getting to know them so that they can create their own wealth blueprint and they can start allocating things to the things that they really care about. So I just think you're so right about unconscious bias. You're so right. about assumptions that we make. And I have to be honest, I did make, when I started coaching, I was so focused on financial planning and problem solving for a really long time. It did take me a long time to unravel the 10 years that I was in wealth management after the trading, right? Because I got so used to trying to financial plan for my clients instead of, now I've completely gone the other way and I purely focus on coaching and then helping people to build their own plans and strategies to empower them to do it. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot for you to uncondition your mind. And it's nobody's fault. It's what you are surrounded by, it's what you hear by, and it's what is the agenda then of the industry itself when you're in that industry. And it's so great that you can share these statistics and prove actually your clients do care about this and they will love you more if you bring it up, by the way.
Absolutely.
And you will love yourself more because you will have that feel good feeling as well, that that happy hormone when you are doing something that's really good for the planet, because you get that benefit too. If your clients, like your portfolio is giving all this money into all of these amazing courses and you can see the impact reports and clients go, look at the impact report, and you can take that impact report as well as part of your packs to your meetings. That is way, way more empowering than a boring investment report that says, okay, you've saved this amount of tax. They don't care about that. I mean, yes, some clients do really care about that. Again, and that's probably because they might also be biased towards what it is that they're trying to achieve from their investment portfolios. But fundamentally, people will start to light up and care about the bigger impact and the impact that they're having on the planet in that really special place. Oh, Jack, thank you so much for coming in to just share again even more knowledge and even more inspiration, and reminding me again about some of these beautiful statistics and the impact that we have. And and I don't like the word deadline, because deadline is quite negative. I think this we have time to make positive changes, and the scope of those changes, if only 2% are putting their money towards climate action, right, then the 98%, and that's just the 100% of the people that are doing these donations, we have so much scope to make changes.
Well, that's exactly right. And I often say, I bring up these charities in the context of financial planning, in the context of philanthropy. But really, the reality is we should all be talking about these organizations all the time, as
All
I
the
know you
time.
do. You're a great example of that, because in
Yeah,
a
I
world
get
of,
annoyed. People get annoyed at me at the school gates because
well,
people are literally, Jack, people are burying their heads in the sand about so many things. I had a conversation with a daddy at the school gates after, like, it was like the Monday after I got back from London from your event, right?
yeah.
So on your event, I think was on the Thursday or the Friday, and I came to the school gates on the Monday, and they got talking about Amazon. And I was like, oh, I need to order something. I need to get this. Oh, use Amazon. I was like, no. And I was like, in the Amazon, right? In
Yeah.
a different way. They were talking about Amazon, the distribution company very famous company. And I was like, no, I don't believe in that they don't align with my ethics. And actually, I don't want to put my money with Amazon. And he was like, well, what change can you do? And I was like, actually, I was just at a conference on Friday. I was with the Global Returns Project. Did you know, blah, blah, blah. Did you know how much impact you can have? We all can make a difference. It starts with us. And I went off on one really passionately, this poor daddy. But that's the thing. This is what it's about. When you really get awareness, you start to own your own passion for it. And then you want to share those nuggets. And it will have got that person thinking
Well, absolutely.
whether to
And
use Amazon, whether to put money with Global Returns Project.
well, absolutely. And we've talked about this, but we've done some internal research thinking about, well, what is the most effective thing that an individual person can do to deal with climate change broadly? And obviously, if you sort of Google what can I do about climate change? You get the same list every time. You get buy an electric car, go vegan, fly less frequently. Those are really important things. We should all be doing more of that, right? But what's never on
Yeah.
that list is essentially taking your own individual power and aggregating it with other people's power so that it's more effective. And what I mean by
Yeah.
that is giving to charity, right? That's what philanthropy is. It's the sharing of power. And our research said that if you sort of compare a lot of the most common sustainable lifestyle choices, like flying less frequently, going vegan, etc., with something like a 600-pound annual donation to high impact climate and nature charities, the effectiveness of giving to those charities was vastly higher than
Yeah.
any of the effectiveness of those other things. And again, it's not about choosing one or the other, but it's about making sure that something that is really high impact, i.e., giving to charity, is on that list of sustainable actions that people can take.
Mhm. Oh, 100%, Jack. I think, 100%. We don't even know that electric cars are that good for the planet,
Mm.
actually, right? There's 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 so much research now about we have to mine for batteries. We don't know what to do with the batteries. And, it's fairly obvious, fly less frequent, because when we really love where we are, we don't need to be flying all over the place. We don't need to be doing these things. Sometimes we're conditioned to think we have to fly everywhere. And yeah, it's actually when we being vegan, being healthier and eating less meat is going to be really good for you, and you're
Yeah.
going to be super super healthy. And we were just having this chat actually with Anna and Luke, actually Anna and Luke, the two guests before you, on as part of the wealth pillar. We feel limited though when we hear that, limited because we have to, we have to switch to something we maybe can't afford, because not many people can afford a Tesla. We have to give up flying. I don't want to do that. It's my life. We're thinking about this, and I have to go vegan, and that feels really hard, because it's really hard to be vegan actually if you are buying processed vegan food, because it's not really good for you. It's processed and it's really bad for you. And so there's a lot of limitations and challenges. So giving £600 a year to the Global Returns Project is so easy.
Well, and Emma, even if it's not, some people give a lot more than 600 pounds, some
Yeah,
people give a little bit less than that. But
yeah.
there's this concept in behavioral science called positive spillover effect. And what that
Mhm.
essentially means is if you do something, take one socially beneficial action, and you get a feedback that that was impactful,
Yeah,
you are much more likely in certain circumstances to do other positive actions. And so
yeah,
actually, if somebody starts with a monthly donation to climate and nature charities, because that's actually pretty easy to do, right? You go onto the Global Returns Project website, you click the donate button, you
mhm,
set up a direct debit of any amount. There's no minimum. Somebody takes that sort of easy action, they get an impact report that shows them what's really happening. They come to
yeah,
an event, they watch episodes like this. They get
yeah.
that positive spillover effect, and they're much more likely to then consider doing a meatless Monday or taking one fewer long haul flight or something like that. I mean, we really see it as a stepping stone to all those other sustainable
Oh, it
lifestyle.
is. It spills over, and it's like that 1% change, because you just start to become different. You really want to have a planet that's green and lush and in balance and not on fire, and all of these incredible things that we get from having nature in balance. And we were talking about balance actually with Anna in her last session just now, about, to be healthy, we have to be in balance. But it doesn't just start with being balanced here, it's balanced completely with the world, because the whole world breathes. The whole world is an ecosystem. The ocean feeds the trees, feeds everything, just flows, and we are all connected to it. So our sovereignty here in the UK is dependent on the Amazon, is dependent on everything around the world, Indonesia, Bali, wherever you are in the world, we're all connected. And this is why we need to come together as well and realize that we're not fighting against each other. We have the same cause, and that wealth is everybody's birthright, and we can all be wealthy when we really do connect into what really matters to ourselves and what we value. Because when we really look at what we value, we will realize that the things that an electric car might give us, less flights and being vegan, contributing to the Global Returns Project, is actually fully in alignment with what we really value. We've just often lost it and lost that sight because we're not able to take time to get to know ourselves on that deeper level. And that's the power that you bring in when you're doing this work within the wealth management industry, or what the work that I'm doing within the coaching sector, and the work that you do more broadly with the Global Returns Project. It's really, really powerful because you're getting to people to change their perceptions.
That's right.
Completely. What does wealth mean to you, Jack? If you could just, as a wealth rebel in the Global Returns Project, doing things different, being change makers, creating a ripple effect, what does wealth mean to you?
Well, I think it means to me the same thing that it means to a lot of people who think about these issues relating to the planet, which is, not an accumulation of assets to infinity, but having enough to be comfortable and live, and then enough to direct my assets or my financial wealth into the causes I care about. Because the reality is, one of the most impactful things we can all do as individuals is recognize the power of finance and channel it in our own way into protecting and regenerating our planet, for example. So for me, that's what wealth is. It's having enough to live on, and then having enough to direct capital into the most important projects.
Yeah, having impact and putting it where it matters. I love that. Thank you so much, Jack Chellman. I never get bored of talking to you. I
Me
can
neither with
talk to
you,
you
Emma.
all day. I hope to see you again soon. It was so nice to meet you properly in person back in July. I'm sure I'll be up again soon to London to leave
Well,
deep, dark Devon.
thank you for everything you're doing, Emma. It really makes a difference. And to anyone watching, if anyone has any other questions about the Global Returns Project, our website is globalreturnsproject.earth. My email is jack@globalreturnsproject.earth. We always want to talk with people, get their perspective on these things, and remind people again that any amount that is given to these great charities really matters. So please do consider setting up a direct debit on globalreturnsproject.earth.
100%. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Emma.
Oh, what a day it's been. Actually, I've just realized I can't count, which is interesting because I said I was doing 7 hours of live, and actually it's 8, isn't it? Because I forgot me at the bottom of the kind of the time that we started. So, we started today. I started just after 10, and it's nearly 6 o'clock, and that's 8 hours. So I feel like, I've deserved for you to do the one thing that I did ask for you to do today, which is to donate to the Global Returns Project. I said, if I go live for 7 hours, I'm nearly coming up to 8 hours today. I did have a break of half an hour, which was to go to the loo and do some stuff because Kat wasn't able to be here, which it gave me the opportunity to kind of freshen up. But, I've done it. I've put myself out there. I've faced all of the challenges today of tech and things not working. I hope you've enjoyed some of these conversations as much as I have had having them. Please, please donate to the Global Returns Project. It means the world to me. It means the world to Jack. And it really means the world to the world as a whole. Thank you. Namaste.